In this WrestleTalk news, WWE apologizes and AEW Star Unhappy, Bobby Ashley doesn't know what's going on, and more. Subscribe to WrestleTalk if you like independence. Which means if you don't subscribe, you're a fascist. It's on you if you don't subscribe.
Support WrestleTalk!
It was, of course, a pretty big national holiday yesterday, so I'd like to wish all Americans a very happy belated marker of arguably the most significant moment in its continuity. Rusev Day! Oh! In lesser news, also happy Independence Day. We showed those goddamn aliens what's up, right? It's difficult for Yankophiles like myself to truly get the strange customs of the Americans right, which is why I empathize with the Canadian Renee Young, who's tweeted, "I woke up and said, from one American to another, Happy Independence Day." John said, "No one says it like that, just say Happy 4th of July. My imposter syndrome is through the roof." Flag of United States emoji. The exchange was apparently so shocking, video footage has emerged of Renee's husband, AEW star Jon Moxley, since having lost all of his hair, briefly unveiling his new shaven head look at an autograph signing in Las Vegas over the weekend. Meaning it really is true what they say. You either stay with WWE long enough to become the villain, or you turn into Triple H. Speaking of staying with WWE, segue. After being released by WWE last November, Zelina Vega made her shock return on Friday's episode of SmackDown, immediately losing to Liv Morgan in a 2-minute Money in the Bank qualifier match. Great start. So what led to her coming back? WWE fired Vega late last year because she wouldn't comply with their then new contract policy. All your third-party services belong to us. Since the pandemic began, a lot of wrestlers had started up accounts on Twitch or Cameo as creative side projects while not being able to wrestle as much during lockdown, and for getting a little bit of extra income while losing out on live events pay from merchandise sales. It emerged that some were so successful they were bringing in 6 figures. So it was only a matter of time before WWE wanted all that pie. They reportedly threatened talent with suspensions or termination if they didn't hand over control of their Twitch and Cameo accounts. Boldly, Vega not only refused to, she also started an extra account with an OnlyFans page to sell cosplay photos to. So WWE fired her. PW Insider is now reporting that there were segments of the company who felt she should have been retained and not released. Those segments kept pushing for conversations between the two sides to continue. And after a long period of back and forth talks, WWE execs apologized to Vega and made her an offer to return. The two sides made amends and came to a compromise. But it seems that compromise is actually a moral compromise. One of the more exciting parts of Vega's release last year was how noble it seemed. The third-party service handover was widely condemned by fans and other wrestlers alike, and while talent like AJ Styles and Cesaro understandably gave in to protect their jobs during a pandemic, Vega was bold enough to stand up for herself against the McMahon money-making machine, where she threatened WWE with the thing it fears the most: unionization. Thanks for your support on Patreon, the $100 Man CD Horver and Superkick Nick Mazesco. In the weeks after WWE fired her, Vega and Paige, who always remained with the company, exchanged very public tweets about unionization in wrestling, posting, "I support unionization," and even meeting with the Screen Actors Guild, where she described the talks as powerful. But as the great Groucho Marx once said, "Here's my principles. If you don't like them, I have others." Vega has now deleted both of those posts, and presumably any chance of her pursuing that cause while she's with WWE. If you presume the removal of those tweets is more than just coincidental, then that implies one part of WWE and Vega's compromise for her return was to squash any grassroots momentum for a wrestlers' union. It's difficult because people understandably have to put their jobs first. Sometimes, but that doesn't mean it isn't also disappointing. And another thing about this whole Zelina return, when her real-life husband, Aleister Black, was released at the start of June, Black immediately hopped onto their Twitch channel to process what was going on in real time. During the stream, he spoke about a report that had come out the previous month from Fightful, where Vega had been spotted turning up at the WWE Performance Center to film something. Black called out the report in all but name, accusing them of blatantly putting out stuff that harms people. That harmed Vega so much, nothing but hate comments, all because someone was like, "Sign up to my Patreon, I have news." There was literally no news there was nothing. When now, PW Insider corroborates they were told Vega had agreed to return to WWE around the same time as that Fightful report, adding it could have been even sooner, but all sides opted to keep it quiet. Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp, the guy who reported that, is a frenemy of us here at WrestleTalk, so yes, I am a little biased. I took Black's comments a little personally at the time, and now it emerges they were just a total work. So let's all just remember this the next time a wrestler calls out the dirt sheets for their reports. Because, at the end of the day, trying to convince us whether stuff is or isn't real is their jobs. On the topic of Black, PW Insider adds there are some in WWE also pushing for him to return, but as of right now there hasn't been any tangible discussions between the two sides. What do you think about Vega's WWE return? Let me know in the comments because I'll be replying to as many people as I can for the first 30 minutes after this video goes live from out of nowhere. And Vega and Black aren't the only wrestlers WWE are making a play for to replenish their roster. They've apparently also targeted someone who they haven't already released. Fightful Select is reporting WWE were interested in top Impact star Moose both for NXT and maybe even the main roster, potentially taking the rare step of bypassing developmental altogether and debuting directly onto Raw or SmackDown. WWE had previously made an offer to Moose back in 2016 when he'd left Ring of Honor, but they reportedly backed off because of a 2009 domestic violence allegation. But in a sign of the wrestling business times, Moose has turned down WWE's offer before it could even be formally made, re-signing with Impact for 2 years after they made a huge play for him, tying him up there until the summer of 2023, which would make him 39 years old. With WWE's current focus on younger wrestlers, he very well could have passed up his last chance to sign with them. It seems more wrestlers are increasingly choosing careers outside of WWE because they have more control over their schedules and creative. But even if you're with AEW, that doesn't mean you're happy all the time. AEW is finally returning to the road after a 60-week stint at Daly's place in Jacksonville over the pandemic era, with Road Rager in Miami this Wednesday and then Fyter Fest Night 1 the following week in Austin, Texas. But Brian Cage has tweeted his disappointment with the show's advertising. Cage is set to wrestle a returning Ricky Starks for the unrecognized FTW Championship in the presumed climax to a months-long storyline, based around Cage's slow babyface turn and inevitable split with Team Taz. But despite that and the fact it's currently the only match announced for the show, neither Cage or Starks are featured on the 24 wrestler starring poster. So he's tweeted, Ricky Starks vs Cage, only match announced and can't get on the poster after selling out. Ricky's hometown, and Austin is the wrestling tent that I built. #WrestleCircus. At least Brian Cage knows what matches are happening, because current WWE champion Bobby Ashley has just promoted the wrong lineup. WWE had previously announced a non-title singles match between Ashley and a returning Xavier Woods, after he sold being beaten up in Hell in a Cell for 1 whole week. That's like a 6-month absence these days. But a commercial aired on Friday's SmackDown showing it was now going to be a tag match with a returning MVP tagging with Ashley against the New Day. Sadly, nobody told Bobby that. It's a shame when people don't learn their lesson. What happens to Xavier Woods is on you, Kofi Kingston. Fisted hand emoji. WWE Raw, with a graphic of the singles match. It's responded with, I see you don't check Twitter daily to find out what matches you have on Monday, Bobby. The internet said it's a tag match now, so Monday you'll be kicked in the face by not one, but both of us. Grinning face with smiling eyes emoji. That isn't the only miscommunication in WWE either. Yesterday, July 4th, was meant to see the release of a new Lex Luger documentary on Peacock Premium, which would have been the anniversary of Luger body slamming Yokozuna on an aircraft carrier in 1993. I bloody love wrestling, but despite having 28 years to prepare for the date, Wrestling Inc. is reporting the show's debut has been delayed so it can be supported by a stronger lead-in program, most likely the Money in the Bank pay-per-view in 2 weeks. F4W Online, however, adds this is another case of the left hand knows one thing and the right hand decides differently. At least Money in the Bank appears to be doing well. The show is reportedly almost sold out with more than 9,600 tickets. There's just 278 left. While the initial live events in WWE's return tour are performing well, low attendance for later shows is concerning officials, which might apparently be why McMahon is currently scouting NXT for new talent to freshen up the main roster. You can find out all the other latest breaking wrestling news at WrestleTalk.com, make that your homepage, and watch the top 10 biggest stories from last week with Adam Blompier.
Hello, I'm Adam, and look, it's a new thing, a roundup of the week's biggest news stories in list form. Because apparently, if you cut me, I bleed easily to digest information sorted into numerical value. Anyway, let us know if you like this new format, anything you'd like to see improve, or if you hate all change and me by leaving us a comment. Recording this on Friday, so here's bloody hoping the biggest news story of the week doesn't break on Saturday. Of course it will. Anyway, these are the 10 biggest wrestling news stories of the week.